It's about being comfortable with not owning your games. This quote from Philippe Tremblay, the director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, stirred up a lot of controversy after his interview with GameIndustry.biz. Reactions online were people upset at Ubisoft for saying we shouldn't be allowed to own our games, or people dunking on the company by saying I'm comfortable with not owning your games, Ubisoft. And their stock took a hit because of it. He's right, though. We do have to get used to not owning our games. Before you get mad at me, I don't think that's how it should be. If I buy a game, I believe I should own it, but that's not where the industry is going. That's why I think he's right. We are in the middle of physical games dying, and everybody is too busy dunking on Ubisoft to get mad at the companies who are enabling these practices. There was a lot of stuff over the last few months that made me realize that he was right. The last two games I've picked up, I wanted to get on Xbox. Those games being Cyberpunk Ultimate Edition and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And as you can hopefully tell, I don't know how bad the glare is right now, this is a PS5 version of Infinite Wealth. I'll get to that later. I wanted Cyberpunk on Xbox because the game came on 3 discs and was fully playable out of the box. The PS5 version came with a download code. That's an easy choice for me. Considering how Cyberpunk launched, yes, give it to me fully updated on disc, please. Until they randomly drop a patch late January. Note, I don't know if the PS5 version needs to be updated to 2.0 or is 2.0 minus DLC content. Somebody with a PS5 copy, please let me know in the comments. The Xbox version is superior because of this. Phantom Liberty isn't a one-use code, it's on one of the 3 discs. So I can resell this to someone and they can get the full game without having to buy the DLC. You think if this was the best version of the game, they would have heavily stocked it? No. My local GameStop had 1 copy, and it was the one I pre-ordered. One of my friends, who also makes videos and my thumbnails, go check him out, tried to find this and he couldn't. So he had to order it off of some guy in Florida. That really gave me a bad feeling about physical games. Complete editions of games normally aren't hard to find when they launch, but this is the only copy I've seen at a store, and it was only there because I pre-ordered it. If I didn't, they probably wouldn't have gotten any. As weird as it was to see that, something else about this game broke my brain. I never uninstalled my launch version of Cyberpunk. I knew I'd return to it once the game was fixed and all the DLC was out. Didn't know it would take 3 years, but whatever. After I finished installing the content off of the 3 discs, I clicked the Phantom Liberty icon on my Xbox's home screen, and it took me to the install screen again. The only option I had to launch the game was the base game icon. I'm guessing it applied the updates to that file that was installed from the base game disc back in 2020, just to be sure it worked. I deleted the game, reinstalled it, and it did the same thing. Now let me show you the wild part. So I have with me both the Ultimate Edition and base game of Cyberpunk. I'm going to put in the Ultimate Edition first. Whenever I put it in the disc, it always brings up this screen for some reason, and also adds this icon, which again, whenever I click it, it doesn't launch the game. It just brings me to this download screen. So we go launch Cyberpunk. And when you get to the title screen, has all this nice Phantom Liberty stuff. But if I close the game and put in the base game disc, it starts up Cyberpunk. Despite the fact that this version of the game that is installed on my console is from Ultimate Edition and not the base game. And now it's just regular old Cyberpunk without any of the Phantom Liberty stuff. In fact, it is advertising it all the way at the bottom here. But this is the real nutty part. If I go to the home screen, don't even close the game. Take out the disc and put in the Ultimate Edition disc. I did not close it through Quick Resume. It loads up, brings up this screen again, launches the game. It's like, wait, hold up, let me confirm you own Phantom Liberty. And now it gives me access to Phantom Liberty. Even if I load the save right now, it's probably going to load to where I was in the DLC. The only difference between the discs is that one confirms my entitlement to Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty, and the other one only confirms my entitlement to Cyberpunk. This really proved to me that discs are just physical keys. Also, whenever a game I own physically is brought to PS Plus or Game Pass, I can launch the game without the disc, despite the fact that that version of the game was downloaded off of a disc. I remember when Yakuza Like a Dragon came to Game Pass and I saw that logo on its icon, I launched the game, and it even loaded the quick resume, despite the fact that that was made off of the disc. See how we have to get comfortable with not owning our games? We barely do as it is. Discs only exist to download the game and validate that digital file, which is awful for preservation considering every single game has a day one patch now. I don't think that's how it should be. Personally, I think if I put a disc into a console, it should be the thing running the game. It shouldn't just be validating a purchase. Going into 2024, I was already expecting the death of physical games to happen in the near future. I've been saying maybe this whole gen that this was going to be the last gen with physical games. And then a tsunami of news happened that made me realize they're going to die before the gen is even done. When I went to pick up Infinite Wealth, I knew there was a small chance I wouldn't be able to pick it up on Xbox. I tried to pre-order it a few weeks before it came out, but GameStop's in-store system wouldn't allow it, so I tried to order it online through them, but I could only get it on PS4 and PS5. On launch, I went for opening to secure my copy, and they only had one on Xbox, but it was someone else's pre-order. Hell, they only had 21 copies on PS5, and 20 of them were pre-orders. So even on PS5, I got lucky. 22 copies of a brand new release is awful. And it's not like nobody wants to play Infinite Wealth. It clocked 1 million a week. This game was just not stocked physically. And I imagine it was like that at a lot of stores. While I was there, I was talking to one of the workers, and they mentioned how head office told them they're not ordering physical Xbox games anymore. And this was around the time that Xbox said they're going to stop doing first-party games physically, which isn't surprising. Retailers can barely move the games to the point that they're not ordering them anymore. Why waste money printing games no one wants? They don't care about preservation or us owning our games. Dude, Walmart was yeeting copies of Starfield in the US. And most Xbox store displays are just download codes now. Here in Canada, I think GameStop is only ordering Xbox games physically if they get pre-orders. And that order is for the exact amount of pre-orders that they get, so there's no extra stock. And as soon as they put in that order to Sega for that one pre-order copy of Infinite Wealth on Xbox, stop the pre-orders. This sucks. The last 2 Xbox games only got 1 copy shipped. Yeah, it's just for Xbox, and let's be realistic, nobody collects Xbox games. Us not owning our games starts with the death of physical copies, because once we're used to that, they can shift us into subscriptions only. It's not just Xbox though. Most of the signs of us not owning our games are also on PlayStation. There was that whole situation last year with Sony and Discovery. Well, they were going to delete content off of people's PlayStations because a licensing deal was running out. After a huge outcry from the 5 people who buy movies and shows off of PSN, they worked out a deal and people got to keep what they bought. While that isn't about games, there is one thing in that story that terrifies me as somebody who's made purchases on PSN. Sony just has the ability to nuke content off of my system? I'm assuming Xbox can do it too, but shouldn't we be talking about this? How is PlayStation having the ability to delete stuff off of your console not a massive headline? That's terrifying. I don't know if they were planning on refunding people. I doubt it. Even if that happened and there was a huge lawsuit out of it, I bet it says in their terms of service, you do not own this movie if you buy it off of the PlayStation Store, and it can be deleted off of your system at the request of the rights holder. As I was doing research on this video, I found out that German and Austrian customers had content from Studio Canal, I don't know who that is, forcefully removed from their systems. They've already done it. Sony has proved that they can already delete content that you purchase off of the PlayStation Store from your system. All they have to do is hit a button, and as soon as you connect to the internet, it's gone. But no, let's not get mad at Sony for testing deleting purchases off of our systems with movies. Let's not get mad at Xbox for throwing away physical games completely so we have to play them through Game Pass. We should get mad at some random Ubisoft exec. Oh, by the way, that interview everybody is mad at is about Ubisoft Plus. Obviously, this dude wants you to play games through subscription services. That wasn't the only sus PlayStation thing last year. Players discovered in their terms of service that people are prohibited from selling their games. It was noticed after a TOS OS update, it's been in there for over a decade. It's also been a thing since PS1, but it's still very alarming. Honestly, that situation wouldn't have been a big deal if we still lived in the 90s. I swear, every Genesis game says not for resale on it. But here's the key difference. Technology is better. Late November, Sony released the PS5 Slim and the attachable disk drive. You know, to use that disk drive, you have to register it on PSN. So when the PS5 servers inevitably shut down, any Slim version of the console is bricked if you bought it secondhand. That's nice and fun for video game preservation, but that's so far down the line. Is it really that big of an issue? Yeah. But there's an even worse issue. Going back to that user agreement, thanks to this disk drive that has to be registered to PSN, they can confirm if a game is a secondhand copy. They can so easily say that this disk is only authorized to run on X account on Y system. If anything, it would be like if you tried to play a game that you bought through PSN on a different system that isn't your home system. If you're not signed in or using another account, it won't run, which will kill the used game market. I don't know about you guys, but having to connect to the internet to play a game that I bought if I'm not using my home PS5, or not being able to sell or buy a secondhand copy doesn't sound like me owning my game. I would be surprised if this tech wasn't already available on Xbox too, because most systems handle digital purchases the exact same way, but they're done with physical, so it might not even matter if they can do that or not. And to get even more doomer about this whole situation, they can just update the disk drive and block backwards compat for any game on either system. Dude, we are so close to the promised Xbox One DRM. See, they did it too early back then. That's why everybody got mad. They brought the pot to a boil too quickly. Since that happened, the industry is slowly raising the temperature, and it's so close to boiling physical games alive without anyone knowing. The higher-ups don't care about games or us owning games, even though he's not there anymore. Jim, why do you care about old games? Ryan changed his stance on retro titles when he realized that he could use them to sell people on a subscription service. Damn, crazy how that Ubisoft quote came from their head of subscriptions. I wonder if there's a theme here. Phil Spencer actually playing games is a great way to make it seem like he's on our side. Ultimately, he cares more about a billion-dollar company than me owning my copy of Hi-Fi Rush. Oh wait, it never got a physical run. Okay, how was I supposed to know that they were going to partner with Limited Run to make physical copies of Hi-Fi Rush because it's coming to PlayStation? No joke, I was going to upload this video one day earlier, but I noticed something was wrong, so I had to push it back. I'm low-key glad that happened because I would have been so annoyed if literally the day I uploaded this video and said that line, they announced a physical copy of Hi-Fi Rush. Like, Xbox is definitely going to get to the point where you can only play their games through Game Pass, right? And Sony has a backdoor into all of our systems, and they have a gun that they're ready to use on any game that they lose the rights to, or want to force us into a subscription service to play. That game you bought on PlayStation Plus 15 years ago, well, we just deleted it off of your system. But if you subscribe to our new PlayStation Plus tier, you can play it again. I can't wait for when Xbox backwards compat stops working with discs, so if you want to play Fusion Frenzy, you have to sign up for Game Pass Ultimate Deluxe. The only company who I think will still do physical games is Nintendo. And not because they care about video game preservation, it's because who their target market is. They will actually lose money if they stop printing physical games, especially around the holidays. Parents buy Nintendo games for their kids. A lot of them might not understand video games, but they buy them anyways. What sounds more exciting for your kid? Buying a physical game and having them open it on Christmas morning, seeing the case, popping the card in and playing it? Or they open a box and there's a card with a picture of the game on it, and then you have to log into the store and put in a code and wait for it to download. Hell, some parents may not even be able to download the game for their kids. I was working at Future Shop one year during Boxing Day, the most Canadian job I've ever had, and someone came in to buy a new PS4 because they bought their son The Last of Us edition and it didn't come with the game. Ignoring the fact that he thought he got scammed, and instead of contacting customer support or just buying the game physically, he went to the store to buy another PlayStation 4. That version of the PS4 didn't come with the game physically. It came with a download code. Considering he was someone who didn't know anything about games, he was probably confused when he opened up the box and saw a piece of paper instead of the disc. That parent is why Nintendo will always have physical games. If Nintendo cared about us owning our games, we wouldn't have had to buy Mario 1 on every single eShop until they locked it behind a subscription service. Oh, and if you want more proof that Sony is definitely working towards phasing out physical games, every first-party special edition on PS5 came with a steel case and no disc, just a download code. You think the most expensive edition of the game means you get a version of the game that you own, right? I guess not. But hey everybody, look, they said 19 inches of venom. Isn't that funny? That sounds like they're talking about his venom penis. Let's focus on that, shall we? I wonder how long it will be until the only PS5s you can find in stores are the slims with no disc drives. And then the adapters become hard to find. Oh hey, Xbox is releasing a discless version of the Series X and they're stopping printing physical games? Damn, that's crazy, dude. Game Pass 2 when? Straight up, the only reason why I think we still get games physically on PS5 is because the new PS Plus tiers haven't been around for long enough. Xbox users are already sitting in a boiling pot of water without knowing. PlayStation users, that water is hot. Don't worry, it's slowly getting there. I think the most frustrating thing about all of this is that the creative side of the gaming industry is amazing right now. Seemingly every genre at every level is producing magnificent content right now. Dude, Infinite Wealth is on pace to be one of my favorite games of all time. And there's so many people working everywhere around these companies that care about gaming so much. But the corporate side is becoming as anti-consumer as possible, and they've been slowly conditioning us to be comfortable with it. I genuinely hate videos that talk about how gaming is getting worse, considering the year that we just had. Like, please go play something other than COD for the love of God. Those people always say microtransaction this, battle pass that, acting like that's what's killing the industry. What will really kill it is us not being able to own our games and everything being pushed on the streaming services. Look at the movie industry right now and try to tell me that gaming heading towards that direction is better. Do I believe these services are bad? No. I think they are great services, but they shouldn't be replacing us owning our games. They should be supplementing it. We're already seeing massive layoffs across the entire industry, and we're not even at the same level as the movie industry yet with streaming. Once physical games are dead, the last line of defense of us owning our games is gone. Either get comfortable or get mad. And don't get mad at Ubisoft. Get mad at PlayStation and Xbox. Get mad at the ones at the top who are setting it up so we don't own our games. Based off of the reactions to this quote, people are not directing their anger in the right direction. At this rate, nothing will change until there's a lawsuit, which won't happen until it's too late and we don't own our games. Don't get comfortable. Get mad. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Dislike the video if you have also been noticing that this water is getting hotter, and subscribe for more content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.